24 hours at Le Mans was a very big race held annually at the one and only Le Mans track, which is approximately 8.4 miles long with long straights and sharp corners at the end of each straightaway that would put drivers to the test of their racing capability. The race was mainly dominated by European brands that include Ferrari and Porsche until 1966. The majority of cars entered in 1966 were rear-wheel drive and mid-engine because it helped the tires grip in the cars to take corners. The engines varied from large-liter V8s to V12s, which were the top-of-the-line motors. The cars in these races were usually the top cars of their time. A lot of time and money would go into making them. The vehicles were the fastest, best cornering, most aerodynamic cars the world have ever seen up to that point. Many of the teams would take a lot of pit stops, which is normal for long endurance races, but each team would only have one racer per team. This was a big struggle for many drivers. Not only were they expected to stay up for 24 hours, but stay focused on one of the most intense things in the world, driving. Ferrari was known for many things back in the 60s, like making expensive cars, making well-performing cars, their own custom trademark red, and their success in the annual 24 Hours of Le Mans race. Their success came from how superior their teams and their cars were compared to the other teams, especially when it came to Ford. So when Ferrari came out with the 330 P3 specifically made for the Le Mans, the world was expecting big things from the vehicle, and so was Enzo, the founder of Ferrari. Ford's reputation in the past 24 hours of Le Mans was very poor compared to some of the other brands like Ferrari and Porsche. Their cars' reliability just couldn't compete with the other vehicles, and it was even hard to find Ford on the finishing list. It all changed in 1966 when Henry Ford II asked Carroll Shelby to go to war, which meant to make a car that could compete with Ferrari and some of the other European car manufacturers in racing. This wasn't Carroll Shelby's first time going to war. In fact, it wasn't even his first time he went to war in the Le Mans. In 1963, he built a Shelby Daytona, which went 196 miles per hour at the Le Mans. Ferrari eventually built a car to surpass the performance of that car. When Shelby heard the words, "Go to war," he thought he would build a war machine, otherwise known as the Ford GT40 Mark II. The Ford GT40 was just the best racing car in the world at the time. It was equipped with a 427 cubic inch 7-liter V8 that was from the 1966 Ford Galaxy. Mr. Shelby tuned the big block engine to put out 485 horsepower that would fly the lightweight aluminum chassis around miles of pavement at a top speed of 215 miles per hour. Ferrari entered 14 cars in the Le Mans in 1966, including multiple 330 P3s. Even though Ferrari was a large favorite since they won the past 5 years in a row, when the practice laps came around, they got topped by 3 Ford GT40s and a Porsche. Ferrari knew then they had some competition going into the race. After the race was over, Ferrari did not look good, with only 2 of their 14 cars finishing. On top of that, the 2 cars that did finish had Fords, Porsches, and an Alpine finishing before them. Not one of the 330 P3s finished, mostly because Ferrari focused on the vehicle's performance rather than the reliability. After the race, Ferrari knew he had some work to do if he wanted to beat Ford the upcoming year, and he gave a great deal of respect to Henry Ford and Carroll Shelby. Ford was not predicted to do very well until they made jaw-dropping times in the practice laps. So when the headlines told the public they finished first, second, and third, it was almost an expectation. Almost nothing was holding Ford back from winning the Le Mans that year because they had a great car created by Carroll Shelby, and they had one of the best racers in the world, Ken Miles. After Ford dominated the Le Mans in 1966, they gained respect from many different big-name racing brands, including Ferrari, Alpine, Porsche, and Alfa Romeo, which all dominated Ford for many years in Le Mans. In the following years, Ford continued to gain more respect worldwide by improving the Ford GT40 year after year, and the vehicle is still greatly respected today.